You know what? Most people bail on the network marketing profession before they ever get a chance. And I just think it's kind of shameful. I'm just getting back from the ANMP this weekend. I had a chance to fly out and speak in Dallas, Texas over the weekend for the Association of Network Marketing Professionals event. And it was a great event, man. If you've never been to that, it's a really, you know, it's just a great event. There's a lot of high level earners. In fact, I would go so far as to say that that particular event has a higher percentage in the room, probably the highest percentage in the room of the biggest income earners in the world in network marketing. Like I give you some perspective because I speak for a lot of different companies and teams. If I go into a room and I'm speaking, maybe 5% of the people in the room are making six figures or more. The other 95% are trying to figure it out. This room, probably 40 to 50% of the people in the room are in that 6 and 7 figure category. And it's fun to be around a lot of influence. So anyhow, so yeah. So actually I think I'm gonna incorporate what I said on stage in this morning's live because I think it's quite fitting. Not going to pull up the PowerPoint presentation that I used, which is kind of funny. Last Sunday, you guys have probably seen, if you follow me on Facebook, you saw an image of me holding this fish, and I did a short little post on it, and that's actually what caused me to go, okay, well, can I incorporate that into an actual training at the ANMP, which I ended up doing. I did a little text post with an image this last week before I left. But you know what I want to do this morning in this, I don't know how long this live is going to be. Let's call it maybe 20 minutes or so. I'll try to keep it tight. I would like to help you be one of those individuals that doesn't bail, that doesn't, that comes here for a season and then splits. The sheer numbers of people, like the numbers are quite staggering, in fact, of individuals that come into network marketing and then are gone. And it's, let me just say this, it's not the network marketing channel that's the problem. And I don't want to point the finger and say it's your problem, but I mean, it all comes down to the individual. And let me also say this. No, if you choose to become an entrepreneur in or out of network marketing, nobody's going to come and save you. So if you're expecting somebody to come along and sweep you up off your feet and save the day, it ain't ever going to happen. It's just never going to happen. So that's a reality I think every entrepreneur needs to face, is that if it is to be, it is up to me. And that all comes down to taking personal responsibility. It comes down to accountability, which you guys know I'm a huge proponent of. I've been running accountability programs for 16, 17 years in a profession where there is no accountability, which is exactly why I run my A teams. But I don't like seeing good people come into the space and not make it. And the other thing is, like, I was hanging out this weekend with a whole bunch of people. I mean, Donna Johnson, Jordan Adler, Jefferson Santos, Brian Carruthers, Alex Shahid, and many others. And these are all people that are incredibly successful in the business. And I can guarantee you that if you were to talk to each and every one of us, you would find that it wasn't like this instant overnight success. And a lot of times, like, people see individuals who have huge levels of success and they're so envious. And I said that word from stage on Saturday. They're envious of their success, but it's like, you don't. And somebody took, I think it might have, I don't know, I think it was either Garrett. I don't remember. I think it was Garrett that said it. Garrett's the guy that runs the ANMP. I'm not taking credit for this quote because I didn't make it. I think it was Natalie Cole. And I've used this quote a bunch of times on the platform because it's interesting when you see somebody who's incredibly successful and you're not. It's like, man, you see it and you're like, why don't I have that? And you become envious and you want it and you're like, but all you see is the snapshot. You don't see all the work that was done. So the quote is everybody sees the glory, they just don't know the story. And I think pretty much, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and try to think of everybody I know in network marketing because that would take me forever. But pretty much everybody I know in network marketing has been through the ringer. It wasn't like instant overnight success. Yeah, there's a few of those people that come in and they just crush it out of the gate, but that is definitely not the majority. So what I want to do is talk this morning a little bit about, and I don't know, let me just check something real quick. Can I show? No, I'm not going to do screen share. Hang on a second. No, I'm not going to do screen share. So I will say this. So on Sunday last week, so I'm going to turn that image and that written post that I did, I think it was Wednesday of last week, with me holding this big fish, and kind of give you the rest of the story, because I didn't give you guys the whole story. I did give the audience the whole story, but I think it's very fitting for the subject matter today. So I'm a pretty good fisherman. I've been fishing since I was like 5. And I mean, fishing takes skill. Yeah, you can throw a line in the water and luck out, and just like you can in network marketing, somebody can luck out and sponsor somebody. But I have fished a lot. I probably have, I don't know, 20, 30 fishing rods for different types of fishing. I have a fishing boat that I keep up in my river property. I've done fresh and saltwater fishing, rivers, lakes. I do a lot of steelhead and salmon fishing. I would say if I narrowed it down, I do a lot of bass fishing, largemouth and smallmouth. And I do a lot of steelhead and salmon fishing on rivers. And, it takes, you can't just throw a worm in the water and expect, to catch a steelhead. You need to know what to do. So I know, it's like tying leaders with yarn and little corkies and learning to cure eggs and all this stuff. And so when I'm on my boat, I've caught on that river. So I run about 15 miles of river from where my property is downriver, probably downriver 10 miles and upriver about 5 miles. So I know that river incredibly well because I've fished it for so long. I've fished that river for probably, I think, 24 years. And at our river property, we have about 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet of riverfront. And the river is straight, and then just up from where we kind of hang out, it curves. And where it curves, the water runs faster. And I know as a fisherman that fish are generally going to hold in that water versus this flat, slower water that's where we hang out at the beach. So for 22 years, I fished that corner with a spoon. I use this thing called a Little Cleo. It's the name of the spoon. And it's like a little silver flashy thing that flashes. And I've literally done thousands and thousands of casts, hundreds of hours. There was a weekend where my kid and I sat on the corner, and just one weekend alone, we had our line in the water for like 20 plus hours over like a 2-3 day period. And we didn't touch any fish that weekend. I mean, we fished it hard that weekend. So I have fished this corner hard. And I have never in 22 years caught a fish. So let me ask you, if you're struggling in network marketing, like, would you quit? I mean, most people would throw in the towel, man. They would like, I don't even know if there's any fish in here. I'm going to go find something else to do. And I have my friend Jeannie, who is also an incredible fisherman or fisher person, I guess. And every summer, Jeannie has, she'll get 1 or 2 steelhead on that corner, like every summer. And she's throwing the same stuff I'm throwing. She's throwing the same color spoon that I'm throwing. And, and I'm happy for it. That's great. So Sunday, my wife's birthday, beautiful day. Her and I on the beach. Everybody, it was a beautiful day. Warm. I'm out there in my shorts, shirtless, throwing the spoon. I go up there, and it was like noon. So it's not even early in the morning where you like think, early morning, like right when the sun comes. Before it's like just as soon as it's light enough to fish is typically a really good time for steelheading. But it's like noon. A lot of times the fish kind of slow down noon. And it's warm. They're hiding. They're in the shade. So I'm like, okay, I want to cool off, have my feet in the water. So I'm going to go up and throw a spoon. So I walk up there, cast, nothing, cast, nothing. Third cast, my spoon just stops dead. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. That feels like a rock, but I know it ain't a rock. And okay, I know based on the pull and the bend in my rod, I'm like, I know exactly what it is. I got a steelhead on. I'm like, my eyes are watering. I'm praying to God, please, please let me get this fish in, please, please. I'm like, okay. So I'm working the fish, and I, it takes me about 10 minutes to get it to the shoreline. I get underneath it and I chuck it up on the rocks. And I'm like, I'm literally in tears. Like, I mean, 22 years, I finally did it. And I, bonked the fish, put him out of his misery, walk up to Carla. Now, Carla's behind this bush, so she can't see me walking up, and it's her birthday, and I'm walking up there with eyes watering. And I'm like, hey, I'm a happy birthday, baby. And she's like, oh, thanks, And then I come around this bush, and she's like, oh my gosh, you got one, right? And so that's what that was one of the images that we took, that I posted on Facebook last week, and one that I used in the slide deck at the A&MP. And it's just like, man, 22 years. And the other thing is the other thing that I didn't show you guys or share with you last week is when there's my sister calling, who also likes to fish. But I think it was three or four summers ago. I honestly, I think it was on this. I think it might have been on the same day, because a Facebook memory came up. It was in the same weekend, the weekend of August 10th, and it was like I think it was 3 summers ago. We get to the property at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and Joey's like, hey, Dad, let's go throw a spoon. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we grab our 2 rods, walk down to the beach. And so the river's going this direction. I'm here, he's here. So he's about 10 feet upriver from me. I throw, reel in. He throws, and I'm not looking at him. I don't see him. He goes like, Dad, I think I got one. I'm like, given the few times you catch fish in that particular spot, I'm like, did you really get hung up on a rock on your first cast? And I look over, and his rod is bent over. And then it goes like this. I'm like, oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to. Yeah. I knew exactly what he had on, because that's what, if you're hooking something big, that's what you're hooking at that time of the year. I'm like, okay, not a bass, because we had been bass fishing all summer. I'm like, this is not a bass. You don't horse the fish in, just let. So I'm coaching him through it. Then we get this fish onto the bank, and like the grin and the joy on that kid's face is irreplaceable. Like the images, the pictures that I have, like his smile and his excitement was so big, as it should be. Now, let's take this into network marketing just for a moment. Like when I see that, I'm like, okay, I could have been like, oh, well, I'm throwing in the towel. I don't have it. He's got it. I mean, first cast, 20, at that point, 19 years or 19, about 19 years with no fish. Like, no, I'm not even exaggerating. 0. And it's not like I'm fishing every once in a while. I mean, I have fished that corner like long time. And I use this analogy. I use this analogy at the A&MP because I think there's just so much similarity in prospecting and fishing and success in fishing. How many people never put their line in the water, meaning they never prospect anybody, and then they wonder why they're not succeeding? How many people put their line in the water a couple times? I'm 22 years of it. And, they try it 3 times and then they quit. They get 3 no's and then they quit. And the truth is, yeah, somebody comes in and then like, okay, you've been in the deal. Okay. So I know this for I was in my first network marketing company for, I think it's probably somewhere in the range of like 12 or 15 months. And I was showing up. I was fishing every day. I was first in the office, last to leave. I was prospecting, and I still had nothing to show for it. And then this guy comes in. He was a Nordstrom shoe salesman, this Hispanic guy. And he comes in, and he's, this good looking, well dressed dude comes in, starts recruiting people. And within like 3 months, the entire Long Beach office I was working out of went from, English speaking briefings to all Spanish speaking briefings. And this guy just blew past me in volume. And I mean, at that time I was frustrated. I didn't quit though. I didn't stop fishing, but I was frustrated. There were days where I was like, man, am I cut out for this? Like, so what do you do when you see somebody like, am I going to be like mad at I was so happy for my kid to catch that fish, the joy on his face. And when you see somebody else win and you're not, that's proof that it can be done. That instead of you getting all frustrated and like, I'm quitting, this guy, this girl, whatever, like that's when other people's victories should become your fuel to stay in the game, not your excuse to leave the game. And it happens all the time though. So, so it was fun for me to be able to speak at the ANMP and be able to share that story and somehow incorporate that into, a really good analogy, I think, for success in network marketing. It's like you can't win if you're not fishing. And I think the other thing is like, there's a huge, how do I put it? There's a huge patience gap. There's like and even myself, like when I started in network marketing, nobody ever said, dude, you're going to be making this in this period of time. But the seed I planted in my own head was that I would be making, I thought, honestly, here's my thought. I'm going to be making 10 grand a month, driving a 5 Series BMW and wearing a Rolex watch. That was like planted in my head within like 90 days. I didn't know any better. Nobody told me I would, but I didn't know any better. I was young. I was naive. I mean, like, I didn't know. I'm like, it's like, I've thought, well, that's definitely possible. I'm going to do that, which is the reason I quit my job very early on, which was a mistake, but it is what it is. And I didn't do that. Like the first 2 years, I pretty much made no money. It was like 4 years before I had my first 5-figure month. And I stayed. And so I think a lot of times, again, going directly into the subject matter, which all of this is like all of what I've shared with you, the fishing story and leading into this whole thing, like the why so many people don't succeed in network marketing because they end up leaving too soon. And what is too soon? I don't know. I mean, it's different for everybody. Like, if you haven't heard Jordan Adler's story, I mean, he was with I think 11 companies, didn't make money in 11 companies, one of the biggest income earners in the space. And I've shared this before on previous lives, but like I was with him on his 60th birthday down in the Dominican Republic. And, it's like, I'm like, dude, you never quit. And he goes, wrong. He goes, I always quit. I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it until he finally stopped quitting. But like, you got to be able to like adjust, not lower. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember when Saturday Night Live was good, and there was a skit that was called "Lowered Expectations Dating Service." That was so funny. I can just see the couple with the sunset holding hands, and I can see that image in my mind. I'm not telling you to lower your expectations, but modify your expectations, because it ain't going to, it's not going to happen for you necessarily as fast as you want it to. And if you have these high expectations, which is, I want you to have big goals and big aspirations, but if it's a total letdown and it drives you out of the business, it doesn't serve any purpose. So if you're in for a week or a month or 6 months and you're not where you want to be, then I get it. I wasn't even close to where I wanted to be. You have to modify the expectations, because in most cases, High expectations and under delivery upon those expectations leads to frustration and discouragement, and frustration and discouragement leads to quitting. Okay. So maybe you ought to sit down if you're one of, I don't even know who's here. I don't see any comments because I'm running this on StreamYard, but if you're not where you want to be, then are you getting frustrated because of the fact that you're not getting results? The other thing I'll say, and I say this all the time because it's just, and just, you can get sick of it. That's fine. But I'm never going to stop saying it because it's an absolute fact. And I will hammer the message until everybody who is exposed to me has it like tattooed to their soul that's struggling in network marketing. You can't catch a fish when your line ain't in the water. I don't know if I think I need to explain myself, but I will. If you ain't prospecting, you ain't making no money. It's as simple as that. And people all the time get into the business and they're not even kidding themselves. They're lying to themselves and they're saying, hey man, I'm doing the business. You aren't doing the business. Doing the business is, okay, how many people have you exposed the business to in the last week, month, 6 months? And that's why I'm so big on tracking metrics. I mean, I have this thing on my desk all the time with me. This thing went with me to the ANP. I track everything I do today as a speaker and a trainer. I track all of my revenue producing activity. So it's like, oh, I don't have enough speaking gigs. I got to look at my tracker. Well, oh, have I been making calls? Have I been doing reach outs? And yeah, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, wouldn't it be cool if you just barely had to do anything and you built a massive business? Yeah, it would be super cool. And, wouldn't it be cool, I think, if as a speaker that, wow, I could just sit back and, people call me and they book me for trainings and I don't have to do anything. I mean, I'll tell you my favorite thing about what I do. I mean, I love running my A teams. I love working with people. It's not, prospecting business is not my favorite thing, but it is the most important thing that needs to be done. I get what's called a lay down sale. Like one might, like where you talk to a friend and the second that you talk to them, they join your network marketing business, but you don't build a career on it. If I want my speaking calendar to be full, I need to be making phone calls to owners and top distributors. That's what I do. So I still, I got to do the same thing you got to do. Is it my favorite thing? No, my favorite thing would be, either coaching somebody, talking in front of an audience. And that's great. It'd be super cool. If all I had to do is like show up for events and speak. Oh my gosh, life would be great. Well, let's take that into building a network marketing business. Wouldn't it be cool if all I had to do is collect a check? But that ain't the way it works. So you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. And, again, this message today is all about survival, about thriving and surviving and lasting in network marketing. You got to go in, you have to have your line in the water. You have to be consistent. And what does that mean? Do I need to describe that? Consistently, daily, the one thing. Gary Keller wrote a book called The One Thing. What's the one thing in network marketing? The one thing is exposure, invites, presentations. Nothing else matters. It doesn't, your reels don't matter. The live doesn't matter. It's like, who did I reach out to today? Take a look at the last 60, 90 days of your prospecting. Don't be sitting there counting your reel, your Facebook live, your posting, your stories, you're thinking about prospecting. I'm talking about an actual conversation you're having with a person saying, hey, look, I'm super pumped about what I'm doing. I'd love to show you what I'm up to. If I sent you this video, would you take a peek at it? And I'm not saying it has to be the invite, but that, you get the drift. So okay, let me talk about another one, because again, the subject is lasting in this business. If you want to last, and look, I don't understand this, honestly. I got to take a quick sip of coffee. I don't understand how I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend. How can you get to even $5,000 a month of residual income in network marketing, lose it, and then not want to get it back again? I mean, that's not a lot of money, but it's like you get to $5,000 a month and you don't even have to work that hard because it's all based on, product usage, whatever, consumption, you got the residual income, and then for whatever reason, it dissipates or disappears. And then how does somebody just not go, okay, well, okay, let's go do it again? Because when you get it going right, there's nothing better. Nothing better. But you also have to be able to weather the storms. You will have storms. So I think it's Jordan, who is a dear friend. It's funny. I kind of like being a later speaker when I speak at events, because a lot of times when I go to like a multi-speaker event, most of the speakers are, they're active distributors in the field, and they got their thing that they're going to talk about. And I mean, for me, because I train for a living, I mean, anything having to do with making money in network marketing, I'm pretty comfortable talking about. So if somebody, that was covered. So Jordan, I think, was the first or second speaker, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna change my PowerPoint, because I actually was doing I was planning on doing a training on the concept of actually making a true and real decision, which most people never have. Most people have never made a real decision. They haven't. They say they have, and it's just lip service. And the thing is, I bring that up because if you have made a decision, then when a storm occurs, you'll recover from the storm. And the whole definition of lasting, surviving, thriving, being here 10, 20, 30 years from now as a successful person in network marketing means you will no doubt have seasons, ups, downs. You may have terrorizing seasons. But if a person said, I'm doing this, which I did early on, and I didn't know the power or the concept of making a decision. I was just a stubborn young kid who was like, man, if that guy did it, if she did it, if he did it, like, man, and I don't have to have a job. I don't have to have a boss. I can earn income on the efforts of other people, not just me. All that stuff was super appealing to me in my naive brain. And so I've had lots of storms, man. And I've stuck in there. I've had companies go out of business. I've had organizations completely leave. I've had 2 companies go out of business. I've had owners that weren't quite the greatest, and it makes me think of one. Man, I got to share something with you. So I'm at this leadership training in Melbourne, Florida. I'll never forget this. I'm sitting there. It was 52 of us, the 52 top people. This is when I had like this it was probably about 3 years I had a chance to work directly with Mark Yarnell. And I mean, I did hundreds of 3-ways with Mark. He was such a great guy. And speaking of fishing, Mark loved fishing. And so when he passed, his wife called me up and sent me all of his flies. Mark tied hundreds of flies. I literally, in my garage right now, I have all of Mark Yarnell's flies. I mean, he tied some. I mean, he had a pretty vivid personality. He tied some vivid flies. One of these days, maybe I'll show him to you. I'm not going to run down the garage right now. But I'm sitting in this room, and the check is going up, 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 and things are great. And this guy who is the president of the company, who was actually in my downline way back in the day in ProStep. He's a former executive director with Excel, who made big money in the Excel run, who took on the presidency role. And we're in this room. I'm sitting next to this woman, Dean was her name. And she was At the time, I think she was like 67. Powerhouse networker, man. Powerhouse. Devout Christian woman. I took her to Taco Bell and she like barely could eat. She was tiny. She was like 100 pounds. And she could barely eat one crunchy, regular, crispy taco from Taco Bell. It's so funny, like the memories that you have, right? So I'm sitting next to Dean, and Jeff, who is the president, comes in. Now it's 52 of us. These are all the NMDs, presidential directors. Everybody in there is 6 figures plus. And Jeff comes in and tells his assistant, shut the door. He gets up on stage and he gets up there and starts cussing up a storm. Like, you effing people, let it fluff, like just, and I look over at Dean and her jaw was like her mouth was agape. And I'm just sitting here going, oh my gosh. Oh, what's he doing? And what he was doing is he was blasting somebody. The night before, there was a business opportunity meeting. You know, just like a lot of times you have an event and the day before the event starts, you have like a, open business opportunity presentation. So somebody in that room, one person was talking and being disrespectful, and like they could be heard because they'd seen the presentation. So they're having a conversation in the middle of a business presentation, which pissed Jeff off, which I get it. It would piss me off too. It's disrespectful. You don't do it. But instead of him dealing with it one-on-one, he comes in and he cusses up a storm and just rails the whole room. I played golf with him and this guy, Frank Triola, that afternoon. Man, I wonder if Frank is still around. And it's me, Jeff, Frank, and Greg, and we're playing golf. And Jeff, flies one into the bushes, and I'm trying to help him find his ball. And I'm like, dude, what the hell did you do today? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you just finished the company. He's like, oh, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, the company is done. Done. He's like, oh, no, come on, I'm like, whatever. You know how many people I recruited after that? 0. I had 25 national marketing directors in that room. How many of those people recruited anyone after that? 0. I don't know why I brought up that story, but I'm sure you get a little lesson in there. I guess the lesson there is like, if somebody is, you got a challenge with somebody, you don't like bring it up in the whole room. I mean, I was like, okay, this is the run. This is the one. And we were like going like this. And I'm like, this I'm like, it was so good. Things were going so well. And then Jeff had to yell at every single person in the room when it was one person that was talking the night before. But did I give up there? Did I quit? Did I throw in the towel? Was that a storm? That was a storm. That was a big storm. And the storm passes and you move on. But that also, the only way you can weather a storm is by having made a decision that you're in it for the long game, not in it when it's convenient or comfortable. And that actually reminds me of one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s quotes, which is, and I'm not going to get it perfectly, but the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. It's easy to be cool when things are easy, but when things get tough, how do you show up? I want you guys to thrive, survive, last. I'm here. If you need me for anything, I'm game. I'm here. If I can come do a training for your company, your organization, I'm totally open and would love to come and serve. And the business model of network marketing, the channel is so good when you get it going right. And it's so worth it to do the work. I would love to see more people win. But you can't come in and not put your line in the water. You can't put your line in the water for a day, a week, a month. And I do think that, one of the greatest qualities of being in this business is being resilient, having thick skin, being able to get back up. I mean, I had a friend of mine who runs a media agency now, and I'll never forget. She called me. I was living in Bend, so it had to be. I think it was probably about 6 years ago, and she's like, "Oh, how have you lasted?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "People." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." I think the greatest thing about network marketing are the people, and sometimes the most frustrating thing are the people, because it's all it's humans that run the field and humans that run the show. And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I get your frustration." She's just frustrated with the way people are, but like this weekend, and I'll finish with this. For me, going to the ANMP, that's like a reunion. I actually skipped my 40-year high school reunion this weekend. I think it was Saturday night up in Washington. And I got invited to it. I had to send the reunion guy, Tom, back a message. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm speaking down in Dallas. I'm going to miss it." I mean, being at the ANP is so much more important to me than being at a high school reunion where I haven't seen people in ages. But it's like going to the ANP, it's like a reunion for me. It's like seeing people. I saw some people I haven't seen for so long. And because I've been in the network marketing space for so long, it's like I walk around the room and I know quite a few people. So, and just, and all those people, as I started, 5 minutes into this training this morning, people like Brian Carruthers, Brian, like, here's a guy, like, I actually sat, I did an interview with Brian while I was there. That's going to be released in the next couple of weeks. And I actually asked him, I said, "Dude, you've made more money than most people in network marketing. You've made more money in your investments than probably anybody that I know in the entire space. He doesn't need to do it." I'm like, "Why do you keep doing it?" Well, he loves the game, first of all. And he's, the other part of it was like, well, yeah, I am where I am, but how could I stop doing it when there's so many people that aren't where I am? So I got mine. So it's time for me to go. And I have so much respect for that dude because he just never stops recruiting. We went out on whatever night it was when I had my annual cigar, and a group of us went out, and we're all at the car, and where's Brian? Brian was lagging behind us because he was recruiting the guy at the front door. It was wild, man. You got to be able to weather the storms. You got to be able to exercise patience, and you have to keep your line in the water. So I definitely think this was probably longer than 20 minutes. I should, whatever. It's actually, it's only almost double. If you caught me late and you're like, "What the heck is Todd talking about?" Maybe you can catch the recording later. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'm eager to help, eager to serve, and whether it's a Zoom for your team, inside of a Facebook group, Super Saturday, regional, corporate event. I love to help people figure this out. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty decent at it at this point. And if I can help move the needle for you guys, I'm game. So, all right, on with your day. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.